to find the right head for this torso. Has to be of a man who strongly craves women, whose overriding urges are sensual. If we succeed in finding such a single-minded man, our chances are very good that the male we create will fall in love with my female zombie.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello there.
This week, we're kind of a wild card this week. We went deep into Aaron's fantasy playbook to do the immortal classic Flesh for Frankenstein, also called Andy Warhol's Frankenstein.
Let me give you a little of a backstory.
Please.
Back in my youth, I went to boarding school, and there was a theater. You could sign up to go to the movies on Friday night. It was all second run. You don't know what it was going to be. Sometimes it was not Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee.
Right.
It might be just jacked up old school kung fu when they're ripping people's hearts out. It might be zombie, and sometimes it might be Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, quickly followed by Andy Warhol's Dracula, which is also
Blood for Dracula.
Which will be next on our hit parade.
So
I think I was 14 when I saw this.
And this is with teachers watching you watch this, or what?
They didn't give a shit.
Clearly.
They just sat in the back. They turned us loose. We sat in the front row. Lord knows where they were. You just had to be back at the van when the movie was over.
Sweet, sweet Jesus. Good Lord. Okay, well, why don't we jump in? Give us your 30-second synopsis of Flesh for Frankenstein.
Well, you know, the Serbians are an oppressed people. So our hero, Dr. Frankenstein, Udo Kier, has decided to create a master race of zombie Serbians to take over the world. Well, it all gets a little screwy, and in the end, I think they commit suicide. Well, one of them commits suicide. One of them has an unfortunate event. It has so much to like and so much to be repelled by. So if you like the idea of having sex like a serial killer, where livers and organs are somehow involved in the act, then this is the movie for you, friends.
Sweet Lord.
I don't even know what the backstory is, where somehow you've associated squeezing livers in your hands with so much.
Well, this was.
I know you're running a clean podcast, but that is the scientific word.
We're gonna. That's all bleeped. That's all. Bleeped.
Is there a better? Should I say the money shot? Should I say in your eye? What should I say instead?
Essential oils. Who's to say? Sweet Lord. I want to, in the record, this was Aaron's choice, and I fought her every tooth and nail to not do this. It was
fantastic.
Sweet
it was so
Jesus.
much better than all your 80s movies. Here's my nostalgia from being 14-year-olds going, oh dear.
Oh dear is right.
Wacky. It is. It was rated X when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see that.
You see more in Game of Thrones these days.
That is true. Had you ever heard of this prior to your 14-year-old self seeing it? Let me ask that.
Oh, Lord, no. And I couldn't figure out what the Flesh for Frankenstein was, because I'd never heard it called that. It was, when I saw it, it was Andy Warhol's Frankenstein in 3D.
Yes.
The glasses.
We didn't even talk about that. Yes. I watched it on Shudder through Prime Video, and that was an option. I could have watched it in 3D, or I said 2D. I'm not jumping in the deep end of the pool with this bad boy. No,
Because
thank
they
you.
just expect. I mean, it's not like 3D like now. It's old school Elvira. You had to go to the supermarket and for $3 buy the paper blue and red glasses to be able to watch it. That's this level 3D.
Well, and I really didn't notice, watching it 2D, I didn't really notice any obvious, this was for the 3D audience, except in the end, when, spoiler alert, Baron Frankenstein gets some kind of a harpoon through his chest, and it was like a hunk of meat, and it was clearly like, this is the 3D moment, where it's like, here's the pole with the meat hanging on it, sticking right into the camera. Other
It
than that, I didn't
reminds
notice anything.
Yeah, it's totally like the Wax Museum one where it's a ping pong guy. It's like a bunch of shit that is irrelevant to the story. And that's what they focus on 3D, with the exception here of Baron Frankenstein. Do you remember the House of Wax? There's a guy with the paddle ball and the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Bing, bing, bing. I mean, and that furthers the story how?
Yes. It's very egregious. Like, if you go watch Friday the 13th Part 3, there's a lot of yo-yo work, and then where it's just like, what is happening? Jaws 3D. You're right. There's always just random people sticking stuff right into the camera for no reason.
Taste it!
Good time.
Taste it! I just made that up.
You remember that famous line?
Yeah, in this movie, you don't know what's going to come flying at you. That could be a dingle or a dangle or old Serbian prostitute giant nipples flying at you. You don't know.
It was freaking ridiculous. I had heard of this movie.
You've never seen this?
I had never. This is my virgin voyage, if you will. Had never seen it, and frankly, it wasn't real high on my list. I got to be honest with you.
I knew this was a classic.
You're absolutely right, though. I think when I first heard of it, it was called Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. Although he was really not connected with this movie or the other movie in any way, shape, or form. It was just kind of a trick to try to get more interest in it. You know what I mean?
But it says they gave her producer credit.
They said they threw him a little, like they said he popped up a couple times on set, but he wasn't the director. He wasn't the writer. He really wasn't like a creative producer involved with this at all.
But the star, not Udo Kier, but the other gentleman, was all part of his master group.
The master group?
I'm blanking on what it was called. What was it? The workshop?
Right.
Or whatever.
Yes. Sweet Jesus. Shall we proceed?
Let's go, brother. Let's go.
I have to say, and I was telling this to you, I tried to watch this last night and I kept falling asleep and I was like, this is totally unintelligible. I cannot follow what's happening. So I had to, today I had to go start from scratch, and then I was able to kind of understand, because it is bonkers. That's the only word I could think of to describe.
Are you Regis Philbin now? It's bonkers.
It is mad. It is madcap, if you will. Oh, sweet. So it kind of looks like one of those old Hammer movies at first.
Until you see the penises.
It takes a turn where it's just suddenly, first of all, there's the farmhand who's got a thick Long Island accent when everybody else is speaking broken German, Italian. He busts in and is like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, let's go to the battle, okay? How you doing? It was just like, who is this guy? Where did this guy suddenly come from? I had to rewind. I'm like, well, because that accent is as thick as hell.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of that. You're gonna have to go into years of speech therapy to get rid of that crazy accent.
Most of the people, Udo Kier and his hunch. He's not even a hunchback. If you're gonna have a crazy assistant, he's got to be a hunchback. Otto are both speaking the thickest German accents the world has ever known.
Right.
It's a good thing I had the subtitles in, because it was rough sledding, a couple of those things. And I have to talk about the acting is just horrific. It is.
I mean, Udo Kier's okay.
Well, here's the thing. You got to cut him some slack because most of these people, English is clearly not their first language. So you got to cut him some slack on that. But there was a lot of just like pauses in the middle of the sentence. It was like Christopher Walken was acting in this bad boy. It was, yeah.
I thought Otto was still in the show for a long time. The crazy expression on Crazy Otto's face.
Yes.
He was killing me. It was cracking me up until he took a turn for the worse at the end. I was like, then he became just creepy and disgusting.
Yes. Well,
he was the comedy star for a while.
But I don't think he was trying to be. I think this was all meant to be very serious. Okay. So anyway, there's a 20-minute long scene of the Baroness, I guess is who she is.
His wife
/ sister. Yes. I wrote that down as well. I'm like, they're a married couple, I think, because these are their children. But then if there's a long discussion that they're sitting at the table talking about how mother loved you more and father loved me more. And it's just, wait a minute. Is this some incest scenario where they just kind of casually yada yada? They're like, yes, we're married, and yes, we're brother and sister.
Maybe that was the first attempt on the master Serbian race.
Like, now, why is it Serbian? They were talking about it over and over again. I need the perfect Serbian Nasum.
I guess they thought it would be. Maybe Udo didn't want to be a Nazi. I don't know.
I mean,
because
maybe that's
if they were German, and they're filming this in Italy, I'm like, is it the rise of the Reich again? What's next?
That is true. It is the Axis power.
And then Japan pops its head up at the end.
Why not? Why not? It wouldn't shock me at the way this thing's going. But anyway, there's literally a 20-minute long thing. She's in her little like cart, getting pulled by the pony with her 2 children, and it's the longest ride for no reason. And she passes by a hut with a guy playing the bagpipes, the traditional instrument of Serbia, as we all know. And that's when we meet, I guess his name was Nicholas. Who evidently...
I'm going to call him Nicky.
Basically.
That seems more appropriate.
Like the first 3 times we meet him, he is literally just finishing up having sex with some random field wench. Like multiple times. We're just like, damn, don't you have work? You know what I'm saying? There's only so many hours in the day. It can't all be promiscuity as far as I know. Sweet Lord.
That's how you make more Serbians.
That's what you do. So then we meet the Baron Frankenstein and his henchman Otto, and they've already been working on some zombie corpses up to this point because there's really a pile of just bodies thrown in the corner. They're not very sanitary in their laboratory, I'm sad to say.
And I never understood, like, I had to have a leg from this one and a leg from that one. Really? Couldn't you just find, like, a one piece that works together?
Well, but he was very specific. It was like...
the woman, it's her whole body. She just has a random slash down her stomach. Everything else is her parts.
Right. Well, I know at one point they were looking for... looking for the perfect liver and the perfect gallbladder. And at one point he's like, he had this like container on the counter there. He's like, yes, the perfect vas deferens. And I'm just like, what?
He's literally at some point he's just saying random bullshit. Something about you make the fallopian tube stronger. I was like, what?
Right. They were getting deep in all the bits and pieces. Because he's got the girl on the table. And then there's the guy on the table that he's in the process of building. So there's a lot of, if you're not interested in full frontal nudity, this is not the movie for you because it is nonstop.
It's full and it is frontal.
You better believe it. Sweet Jesus. But they like, you got the liver from the body? Yes, master. Well, then get this old body out of here. Throw it in the corner with the rest. There's a
I
lot.
love they have to make sure they pile it directly right on top of the last dude.
There are multiple scenes where it's one dead body and they place the next dead body right on top. Just pile them up like cordwood. Very sad.
Dude, they feed him to the children's pet piranhas like a finger at a time. That seems a very slow process.
Did you notice
to
that
get
the
rid of
kid?
bodies.
Yes. The kids.
And those were 3D also.
Yes. The kids had a huge tank of piranha, which again, not native to Serbia as far as I know. So they flew them in from the Amazon. Who's to say?
Clearly, the kids are a little darker Wednesday and Pugsley. 110%.
Absolutely. Well, they were like,
I mean,
go ahead.
this is like 7 years after the Addams Family TV series. So this was a direct ripoff.
Well, and that's what's so crazy about this movie. It is like Red Shoe Diaries, and then like two like 10-year-olds walk by, and you're like, whoa, what kind of movie is this? This is not is there no adults saying, no, maybe we shouldn't have so much of the kids peeping through windows and things and watching things? That's not appropriate. That's not appropriate.
Well, I remember Angelica Houston talking about living in a castle. Remember when she did Addams Family, speaking of Addams Family, about she and her brother were like in this castle with their dad when they were filming things. And you just got weird because you're all by yourself. There's no one else around. And you just started doing weird shit.
That may be so.
She always said she could relate to the Addams Family.
And Flesh for Frankenstein as well.
Flesh for Frankenstein.
I almost said that earlier. Oh, sweet
I haven't
Jesus.
said it all week.
So Baron Frankenstein talks about how his plan is to build the perfect zombie woman and perfect zombie guy and have them mate to create a master race that will do my bidding. But he needs like the mind and the head of a sex fiend on the dude. Because if it's just a normal dude, who's to say? Basically,
they only have one woman, so as long as he has a penis, I don't think that it's gonna really matter because you still got to wait 9 months.
Well, but this is important. It's got to be the mind of a sex maniac. It has to be in this, like, where he just can't control his urges even a little bit. Thankfully,
That's why.
Go ahead.
That's why you need the extra strong fallopian tubes.
Well, and that's what's ironic is there was somebody who fit the bill already in the characters we've already met. So they go and like stake out the brothel, and there's a half an hour scene in the brothel where it's the buddy Nicholas bringing his buddy who wants to be a monk. So it's both. How are these guys even friends? Is my next question. Brings him along because he's like, hey, before you go and enter the monastery, hang out with me with some grisly Serbian prostitutes, and just
I think
see.
one of them had the plague. I swear to you, I think one of the prostitutes had the plague. She had like black circles under her eyes. I didn't check, but she may have had like the boils in her armpit. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing about this. It's like these sex scenes were ridiculous.
Are so bizarre.
They are because
I
go ahead.
It's not even stuff you find in porno. I mean, honestly, in the brothel, you have a prostitute just sucking and slurping on the back of his knee.
Yes.
What the hell? And then later on with Baroness von Frankenstein, she is literally like nursing on his armpit hair.
Yes.
Like loud sucking, slurping. I almost said something else, but I know you're just gonna bleep me anyway.
Bleep that. Well, I mean, that's
like,
the thing.
It's not loud, no matter what sex act it is. It's not even that loud in any kind of porn that I've seen.
At one point, the guy Nicholas has the Baroness, and it looks like a headlock. Basically, it's like some kind of Greco-Roman wrestling technique, for all I know. Who the hell knows what's going on? Anyway, but there's a 20-minute long scene in the brothel, and the acting is just horrendous. I mean, it's clearly people who are like, I am not happy having to do this. Not a fan. Not a fan, because it's like even when they kissed, it was just kind of pursed lips and what are we doing? Come on.
Exactly. I got to go back to the mini mart or whatever it is in Serbia. Can we hurry up? Can I have my cash? Grandma needs her medicine.
Exactly. I've seen more passion in Girls Gone Wild, frankly. I mean, because this was just, it was rough sledding.
It was fantastic.
So,
except for long boob kissing, much too much nipple play,
but not really. It was like they were kind of in the area, but not really devoted to it. There's kind of at one point he puts his head on the girl's boob, like he's like resting. He's like, I'll just do this for a while.
Well, getting the back of your knee sucked for an hour, I guess, is exhausting.
It is exhausting, let me tell you. Frankenstein and Otto are staking out the place. And at one point, a crazy lizard runs across the naked bodies of the people in the brothel, and two of the hookers run out screaming, bare-ass naked. And Frankenstein is like, oh, this is perfect. And the one dude, the monk, peeks out the door and looks, and he's like, oh, that... he must be very powerful. I don't know what kind of accent I'm doing anymore. He's like, oh, he's very powerful. And of course, it's a case of mistaken identity. So later, like literally, they're still there for like until it's dark. So 12 hours later, we
have to talk about his friend, the Serbian lover who barely speaks, because the whole time people are trying to kiss on him, and all he's doing is staring at his friend. Now, is he a monk? Or is he homosexual?
Well, because Nicholas had said, hey, if you don't know what you're doing, just take a look at me. Watch me do what I do, okay? But you're right. He was so fascinated, enthralled, like with a zombie stare, staring at his buddy, that the girl kind of kissing on his cheek just finally goes, F it, I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing before, washing my pits or whatever. So hours later, Nicholas is drunk as a lord because he was drinking in a really bizarre, like they're sharing the bottle with drunken prostitutes. It was freak show. So the monk is trying to help him home, and Otto hits him on the head. So then the monk is like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And
no.
Go ahead.
Otto hits Nicky in the head.
Hits Nicholas, the drunk Nicholas, so he drops over. And the monk, whose name was Sasha, I believe it was his name.
And he was good looking.
He was a good looking guy. Could barely speak English, though. He ran.
Yeah.
He ran, and the Baron comes around with these giant clippers and just clips his head right off.
That was a fantastic scene.
And it was like clearly like some old mannequin head from Saks Fifth Avenue rolling on the floor. It was with eyes open. Yeah. So it's very...
And then the body, but blood is spurting out like a fountain. And then it's got like the arms are waving. And it's clearly this costume because there's like this bizarre place where the head is secretly hiding with this giant half at the top. It was It was like paper mache. It was fantastic.
So we got two subplots going on here. They've sewed the head on the body back at the laboratory. Literally, and they say like, we only did this a day ago. I chopped his head off yesterday and now he's walking around. But there's also the subplot of the Baroness who's like grabbed the field hand and is now like made him her sex servant. Is that basically what it is?
Sex servant and the server of food. He's serving it left, he's serving it right.
Well, because she already said, Olga, you used to do other things around the castle, but since I've pulled my kids out of the horrible school, you are now 100% responsible for these children. I will not be doing anything with these kids. This is all up to you. So since Olga is now busy with the 100% taking care of the children, she now has an opening, if you know what I mean, for Nicholas to also be, I guess, the waiter What is he? He's the server and the server,
Yeah.
if you know what I'm saying.
He's
Sweet Lord. So there's that. There's their bizarre lovemaking, and then there's the brutal. Oh God, we have to talk about the way he brings the female Frankenstein alive is by opening her up and having sex with the wound. Is that basically what it with her internal organs? Is that what we're supposed to think?
well, two things are going on. He stitched her up, and then he
Yes,
unstitches
that's
her,
correct.
pulls out her kidneys or livers, and just is holding them. They're no longer attached, and has like pre-orgasm.
Yes.
Then I guess they throw it back in, and it magically reattaches, and then he climbs on top of, boom, and that's it. No, you don't need the lightning bolts, is what it is. But while he's having, so my childhood mind thought he was having sex in the wound. They were having sex the traditional way, but he still had his arm shoved up
Is that
inside
what
the
it was?
cavity.
It was.
Yeah, I think that's what was going on. Because at the end, he pulls his hand out of her wound again.
Well, but he says, and I'm paraphrasing because this is a family podcast, to know death, Otto, you have to F life in the gallbladder.
Yeah. I'm just saying maybe that they wanted us to see that, but from the way they were physically lined up, or the fact that Udo Kier didn't unzip or take anything off, so who knows what's going on.
It was ridiculous.
He's fully dressed. He gets off the table, just walks around. So there was I don't know.
It was a bizarre moment, to say the least, and that's really.
But that's a fantastic quote, though. I think I sent that to you because Guillermo del Toro posted that on Twitter on Udo Kier's birthday.
Oh my God.
I found it on. I was trying to get the actual quote, and the first thing that popped up was Guillermo del Toro on Twitter. To know death, Otto, you have to F life
into the gallbladder.
And then it was like, "Happy birthday, Udo Kier!"
Sweet Jesus, sweet Lord. God damn it! So they bring the two zombie people to life and make them have dinner with them. And of course, Nicholas is serving, and he recognizes Frankenstein's head, or the monster's head, because here's where we get confused. Remember, Frankenstein's the doctor, okay?
Right.
Frankenstein's not the monster.
Frankenstein's monster.
That is correct. So Sasha, the monster, has his friend's head, but of course now his buddy's like 2 feet taller than he was. I don't know how they did that. They just have him crouch the entire time before he got his head chopped off.
He was like an Isle of Lucy sketch where you're on your knees and you put your shoes on your kneecaps.
It was. It was something like that. Oh, good Lord.
I think it's more like Tom Cruise, where everybody's in a hole.
That's basically what it was. But he recognizes his buddy at the dinner and doesn't say anything. He's just like, huh, that's strange. Not until he's back in the Baroness's room, and he's like, that was my friend. I don't know what clearly not his body, because now he's so much taller. I don't know what they did. I'm going to go rescue him. And she's like, what do you mean? You have more important things to be doing. And
get over here. I got armpits to be sucking. And then she just starts sucking on
that
his
was so
armpit
bizarre.
And it was clearly a dub because they added it later because it wasn't disgusting enough. So all the slurping is clearly dubbed in later.
It's an American Horror Story.
I don't know. Is that a thing? Because I'm trying to visualize if somebody was sucking my armpit. Not an erogenous zone for me.
I'm going to say not a thing. And if it is a thing, I don't want to know about it. Is basically what it is. Later, there's the bizarre assault of Otto onto Olga, where he chases her around, and you think he's like a rapist, but then you realize with his bare hands, he just tore into her guts. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think we got more a mice and men situation going on here. Like he's emulated. He doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe Otto's got some. I don't know. There might be something wrong with his brain.
Well, they said, yeah, they said that he owed his life to the Baron, and that's why he was like the Baron's assistant or something along those lines. But they didn't tell us why or how. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah, he basically is trying to do what he saw the Baron do. He wants to shove his hand up there and squeeze some livers while, I don't know, his trousers. I don't know.
Oh God,
you're gonna have to bleep that.
It goes.
It is an X-rated movie we're talking about.
Yeah, clearly,
or was. Now it's PG-13. I don't know.
Later, the Baroness is like, bring the monster up to my room. Give me 2 good hours to handle my biz. And you knew that was a bad idea. She's like, pull me closer. Pull me closer. Oh, no, not that close. Let me go. And then it was like the sound effect of like a potato chip crunching. And that was the end of the Baroness. She just got crunched.
A single Pringles crushed in your hand.
Ruffles have bridges. That's all it was. So that's the end of her. Otto goes rogue and tries to get at the lady Frankenstein, the lady monster, and rips open her stomach and her guts fall out, so she's dead.
And yet, Udo Kier can reach and detach her liver and just toss it back in, and she's good to go.
You have ruined her. She is ruined forever.
That's the end of Otto.
That's the end. He strangles Otto to death. Nicholas was captured earlier because he tried to free his buddy Sasha, but Sasha is sometimes under the control of the Baron and sometimes not. So he's kind of like tied up, like suspended over the ground.
Right.
The monster goes after the Baron at this point. Kill him! No, I said kill him! What are you doing? And he chases the Baron into some kind of alcove, and his hand gets chopped off because he slams the gate really hard.
Right into the camera. Yeah, right into the camera. Another 3D classic with the blood.
Yes. He picks up the hand off the floor, and he's angrily like blaming Nicholas. This is your fault! And he throws his hand at Nicholas.
How can you complain about this movie? There's just so much here.
Ah, sweet Jesus.
Everything you say just sounds like it's the funniest movie you've ever seen in your life.
I wouldn't say that.
It's a laugh riot.
Oh,
it's a laugh riot.
If you can get by with all the guts and strange Serbian breasts, then this is the movie for you, frankly. Later, of course, now everybody's dead. Sasha, the monster, rips his own guts out. There's a lot of gut ripping in this scene, but fear not, it looks ridiculous. This is not Lucio Fulci. This is like Friends at the Community College quality is what we're talking about. So Nick is still like hanging there, and at no time does he seem concerned about anything. I mean, theoretically,
he's just hanging.
He clearly he's not from the actor's studio, even though he's from New York. I mean, does he have any acting experience or training? Who's to say?
You know, he is an icon.
To who?
He is an icon. Oh,
okay.
We'll get into that more later.
Okay. But the final scene is everybody's dead, but then here come the little kids, and clearly they grab the scalpels and look at each other. So now you know he ain't getting freed. Now they're going to do some bad stuff to him, basically. Am I right or am I right?
True. You are right, sir.
Anything else you want to share before we move on with our lives?
Okay, you didn't even talk about it at the very end. Everyone's dead, but the kids roll in and crank him up higher, and they all have scalpels.
I did just talk about that.
Oh, I wasn't paying
Yeah,
attention.
clearly. Just like our audience. I literally just said those exact words. Sweet Jesus. Let me turn the show over to you. What else do you want to talk about for this anarchy?
All right. I just think it is so bizarre that it is funny. I think most of the stuff we really talked about already, the armpit sucking, it has some beautiful lines. I did not die in vain.
He's German. Cut him some slack. What do you want?
He's from the Des, bro.
He's not from there. He lives there now.
He lives there.
That's not the Palm
now.
Springs accent that I know. Any other?
All right, we're ready. No, we're ready to go on to behind the scenes and the cast.
Behind the scenes, shall we?
Oh, we shall, my brother.
Do you want to start? Do you have stuff you want to say?
All I want to say for behind the scenes is really about Nick. He is the most famous person, and I think he's still acting right now.
Loosely. Right now, meaning the last 15 years? Possibly.
Hey, that's better than everybody else.
Okay.
Some of these people, this was it. This and another Andy Warhol from the factory. That was it.
Yes. Some of this it was like they had career before this movie, and then that was it.
And then it was record scratch.
Although Udo Kier is the hardest working man in show business. Somehow this did not torpedo his acting ambitions.
Udo still is rocking, dude. I even have a picture. He works with this artist out on the Des, so I actually have a Polaroid she took of him. So there's a Udo Kier shrine in my home.
Oh, sweet Jesus. This is more frightening than anything in this movie. Do you have anything else, or do you want me to get started?
I just want to talk about Joe D'Alessandro, but
please
we'll
hit
come
me.
to that.
Okay, do you want to save that for the cast?
Save that for save that for the cast.
Okay, very good. The gory special effects are an early example of the work of Carlo Rambaldi, who would later go on to do the special effects for E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
What? I was going to say Cannibal Holocaust.
No. Spielberg hired him for E.T. the Extraterrestrial about 9 years later. Based upon his work in this movie. Originally filmed in 3D. Most presentations today are only 2D, but if, like we said, if you're of the mind, I would not recommend it. You can watch this in 3D. Although the film is often referred to as Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, he wasn't directly involved in the production, but allowed the director to use his name. Warhol would make rare visits to the sets and during the editing period, but was not really involved.
Huh. He just sold his name for some money. Plus, old Joe was there.
Old Joe. Both this film and Blood for Dracula shared many of the same sets and the same principal cast. Joe D'Alessandro, Udo Kier, and Arno Jürgen, if you know who I'm talking about.
That was Otto, right?
I believe that's correct. We'll figure this out at some point.
We will know when we see Dracula next.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
Maybe not next. Maybe
not next. The film was rated X in the USA due to the explicit depiction of sex and violence. It's not like Debbie Does Dallas or anything. It's more kind of low rent Skinamax. Frankly, I mean. That's what
flaccid penises and occasional bush. That's about it.
That's about it. And frankly, that's more than enough.
Like flaccid.
You're telling me. The Swedish grindcore band Nasum takes their name from a line spoken in this film because they go on and on about how, at the beginning, how Frankenstein's looking for the perfect Serbian Nasum, which is Latin for nose. There you go. It sounds
perfect. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a special. I've heard of the Roman nose, but I've not heard of the perfect Serbian nose.
It's very important. Dialogue from this film is sampled in the song carnal fecophilia due to prolonged exposure to methane on the album Homivore by California death metal band Cattle Decapitation. So check that
Oh
out.
my God. Is that on your Spotify playlist?
It is not, to say the least. That is it for my behind the scenes. Good Lord.
I just want to tell you, I think the laboratory set was completely stolen by Rocky Horror Picture Show. There are some sets that 100%, I swear to you, are from Rocky that ended up in Rocky Horror. The giant tank, that's like where the monster Rocky rose up. I mean, I think they both wore gauntlets. I mean, totally.
I don't think so. This was filmed in Italy. There's no way that, they didn't fly Rocky Horror Picture Show to Italy.
I didn't say they would use the same set.
Inspired by. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It all filmed in Italy with no actual Italian actors.
Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we? The director... Well, first, let me say this. The director, not Andy Warhol, is a gentleman named Paul Morrissey, who you know from such films as Mixed Blood.
No.
Blood for Dracula.
A lot of blood, I say.
News from Nowhere. And The Hounds of the Baskervilles, 1978. Starring Dudley Moore was in that one. Good Lord. So he directed a few things.
That was before he was famous. No, mostly I think he did these kind of interesting films.
Okay. And you want to talk about Joe D'Alessandro played Nicholas, the star of the show. Go ahead.
Our star of the show, he is a Warhol superstar, is in all of Warhol's actual films besides these films. He is many American Underground. He's a sex symbol and a gay icon. Although he is bisexual. He's been married like 3 times, and he's our dad's age.
Yes.
He actually went on. He was in the Cotton Club. He played Lucky Luciano.
Yep.
He went on to do other things, but he's also in pop culture. So, Take a Walk on the Wild Side. There's a line dedicated to him. He's Little Joe. That's his nickname. So there's a line there. The Rolling Stones album, Sticky Fingers, the picture of the jeans, if you've seen that with a zipper, that's him. And he's on a Smiths album cover.
He's a cultural icon, clearly.
He also went by Joe Catano. He's known by Little Joe. He's been married like 20 times. Yeah, most of his movies, like, they're all these crazy movies that Andy Warhol put on. But like in the 90s, he started doing more mainstream roles.
Well, his top 4 on IMDb are The Limey.
Blimey, it's the Limey!
That's correct. He was in Crybaby with Johnny Depp.
I bet he was.
He talked about the Cotton Club. He was also in something called Black Moon in 1975.
He also appeared on Wise Guy, Miami Vice, Matlock.
Like day players. Like he was in one episode of Murder, She Wrote back in 84. Monique Van Voren played Baroness Katrine Frankenstein. You know her from Wall Street. She was her number 1 role in Wall Street. Yes. Woman at 21 is what her character's name is. So you can tell she was doing very well for herself. She was also in, I can't even read this, Flesh for Frankenstein. She was in Sava Bade. You know it, don't you? She's Belgian. She's not Serbian or anything else. And something called Decameron. You know it, don't you? Okay, enough.
We didn't see that. Enough of that nonsense.
Udo Kier played Baron Frankenstein. He was in The Hunters. Actually, he's coming out this year. Swan
He's the
Song,
hardest working man in show business.
Bacalao, something called Downsizing in 2017 with Matt Damon. He's still doing stuff, man. I don't want to go through all these freaks and morons. Okay, that's all you need to know about the cast. There's other characters. Not important. Not important. Shall we talk about the rating?
No, we have to talk about the weird redheaded Italian girl playing their daughter who was in Profondo Rosa.
Oh, was she really? Okay, I gotta look this up.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
I don't know who the hell she played in it, but...
What was her name? Monica? Was that her character's name? Because there was Monica, Eric, Sonia. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So there you go. Profondo Rosa. Check that out. Let's talk about our ratings. Are you ready for this?
All right.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it currently has 86% fresh based upon 14 reviews.
Vindicated!
The audience gave it 55%. Let me look at, you're going to be bowled over when I tell you that when we look for top critics, there is only one.
Rex Reed?
There is only one.
Rex Reed?
It's not Rex Reed, sadly. Only one.
Village Voice?
Only one top critic, Nora Sayer of the New York Times.
All right.
This Frankenstein drags as much as it camps. Despite a few amusing moments, it fails as a spoof, and the result is only a coy binge and degradation. So there you go. I think that pretty much sums it up.
I mean, literally, this is one of those perfect midnight movies. You go out with your friends, you have a couple of pops, and now you're at the midnight movie. I mean, this screams a midnight movie. It is so campy. It is so over the top. The acting is so bizarre. It's fantastic. What more could you want, Kevin? I don't understand. What more could you want?
I found it boring for the most part.
There were a couple of moments I have to give you. There were a couple of drags, long pony cart rides.
Oh God, yeah. There was a lot of slow. I mean, and frankly, all the love scenes. I'm calling them love scenes. Were boring as hell. There were a handful of moments that made you chuckle, but it wasn't like rolling on the floor at its best. What is your rating? Hit me.
Okay.
And
I thought 85% is a little high. Okay, I'm going to say
enough.
that I was bowled over by that, and I appreciate that. But I was going to give it probably 3 3/4 out of 5s. Oh my God! Now I can't even think of what I was going to say. Something snappy. Giant areolas of the plague victim prostitutes.
I'm going to give it 1.5 out of 5 disgruntled Serbian prostitutes. That's what I'm doing.
Always with the prostitutes.
Always.
They like to be called...
You filthy creature, you.
Oh my God, Udo Kier's accent is so insane.
It is as thick as hell. It is as thick as hell. If you've seen him and stuff recently, I mean, he's got a thick accent, but he's very understandable. Back in 72, I mean, I don't know if he just arrived. I mean, was it all lines delivered phonetically? Who's to say? It is ridiculous. Erin loves this movie. She tells people on the street to rush out and see it. I would say maybe pass on it. I don't know. I don't think it's worth the time that I put into watching it, honestly.
He is such an interesting looking character.
And he looked young in this too. Udo Kier looked really young.
He's born in 44 and this is 74. So what is that? He was 35 or 40 or something. I don't know. I can't do
He was like 29. I think is what you're looking for. And the woman who played his sister was like pushing 50. So, I mean, there was a bit of an age discrepancy between husband, wife, sister, brother. Who knows what the hell is going on? Sweet Jesus. So, thank you very much. Go to our page.
Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me.
Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast, TW Die. Go to our page on Facebook at the podcast that wouldn't die. Aaron, are we on Insta? What's going on?
We might still be on the Instagram. We are the podcast that wouldn't die.
So check that out. You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die, at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to rate, review, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff for us. Help us out, won't you? Aaron?
Help her, brother.
Help her! What are you up to? What's going on with you?
Starting the Central Valley Udo Kier fan club.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
That's in progress. So
please don't.
I hope to track down Udo Kier when I'm in the Des, so we'll see.
We'll see.
I am on the Insta. Yep. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeon, if you're interested in pigeon love. Next, you can find me on
Pigeon
Artsy love? As in you love the pigeon, not that you want to suck the pigeon's armpit.
I see.
That's
an important distinction.
A la Serbian prostitute. I'm on Artsy, Aaron Doherty. I'm on First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Soon to be at the Museum of Polaroids out at the Salton Sea. Womp womp.
Beautiful.
You might also see Kevin.
You might. At least my picture. I'm not hanging out at the Salton Sea as often as I'd like. Anywho, next week, Aaron doesn't even know what we're doing. We are doing...
I don't even know. Is it Andy Warhol's Dracula?
No! But what we are doing is one of the finest Jaws knockoffs of 1978.
No.
Piranha!
Speaking of piranhas.
Right. These are the same piranhas that were in the kids' fish tank in Flesh for Frankenstein. So check that out. It is currently...
But only the finest Serbian piranhas will do.
That is correct. Except no substitutes. You can watch Piranha on Prime Video streaming for free. So there you go. If you have a subscription, you're welcome. Check it out.
Well, finally, since they raised their goddamn prices another 20 bones, those bastards.
It's also on
for that divorce.
Could be. It's also on Fubo, AMC Plus, Hoopla, Canopy, DirecTV, Shudder, IMDb TV. It's covered.
I haven't even heard of half. Are you just making stations up? I haven't heard of half that shit you just rattled off.
It's on Hulu. It's on any other. It's on Pied Piper.
I'll watch on Hulu on my iPhone.
Please, iPhone. So, thank you very much, and be well.
People, take care.